Hello, welcome to Narrative. My name is Veronica, and today I need some help doing admin stuff because my brain is doing brain stuff that I don't know what it is going on, but apparently wants me to be doing talking and admin stuffs at the same time. So I thought we might as well do what my brain wants me to do. So while I am doing some Patreon edits and Wattpad edits and all of that stuff, why don't we talk about networking as authors? Because we are just like 9 months out from my Vegas trip, where I went to the last 20 books to 50K conference, and I was very hesitant to be honest about my experience about it because it is a little bit sensitive to be a bit too critical as an author. I've pulled back on giving reviews on books because it might come across really badly if I, as a fellow author, criticizes another author, and that kind of mentality is very big in this group. And don't get me wrong, I really like the Facebook group. There's a lot of good information in there. People approaching it with the rising tide kind of lifts all boats. That mentality, I really vibe with that. So the Facebook group itself, I really enjoy. And I think that you can learn a lot of good stuff from there, especially because no one is saying this is the one way to do something. It is always about this is what worked for me and this was what didn't work for me. This is what I learned. I really, really enjoy that approach to community and to learning, because we all know there's no one way to success in writing and in authorship and all of that stuff. There just isn't. So you need to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So I really enjoy the Facebook group. The conference itself was a complete bust for me. It was a waste of money to go there. Don't get me wrong, I made the decision to put that much money into getting me and my partner all the way from Sweden to Las Vegas, which was a 21-hour one-way trip, and not comfortable. We made that choice and we put a lot of money into this. Just the tickets themselves, I believe, was some $800 in total. So, and with that price, so like $400 per person roughly. So with that price, I was expecting a really high quality of all the talks and the seminars and all of that stuff. And what we got was, I think I summarized it to my partner, but because we split up. He is very good at like SEO and that style of marketing. So he went to the Amazon seminar kind of thing, and I went to a different one. And he came back being like, this is essentially the first 6 pages of Amazon's online manual anyway. Like, what the hell? Like, you should be able to you can read this on your own. And it was kind of similar with all of the other ones. I was just like, I summarized it as people have seriously taken, like, I can find all of this information on the first page of Google if I search for the right thing. Why am I paying $400 per person to access a venue where very few people were open to networking? I'll get there. And like actual networking, and just the talks, the presentations. There was like a few that were like, okay, do you have a little bit of a gold nugget in there? But most of it was just such a low level that I'm like, what new author sinks this amount of money into going to this conference? That because you're speaking to such a new author. I'm not going to say low level, because it's more like you're just fresh in. You haven't really had time to learn anything. You maybe have learned a few things off of YouTube. You haven't even started Googling things, because all the information that people gave in these talks, I can find online for free. I should not pay this premium price to get free information. This is the space where you should be giving me something fresh, something new, something special. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't be a speaker. And I do understand that there's a limitation to how much new material you can bring to the table all the time. But you, as the conference organizer, should really vet the talks, because at least one of the talks was essentially one big pitch that led into, hey, buy my course. And I was furious when that happened. I was so absolutely furious to sit here and having paid to like a ticket price to be sold to a course to. No. You should be taking things from your damn course and teaching me that, because that's what I've paid for. What are you doing? That pissed me off for real. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings regarding it, but the conference itself was a real bust, because the quality or the level of the talks was so low that it was clearly angled or targeted at new authors who are fresh into the business. Anyone who had even a level of mid-level, like have done research or has any books under their belt, this was not going to be of value to you. If it is, you haven't done research. Like, I get that I've done a lot of research and I know how to find information because that's literally my day job. But at the same time, I'm like, this is not difficult. If you just search for any old term, this information is going to be on the first page of Google for free. That's how simple it is. Like, that's the level. And if you, as a author who has several books out, found that this level was on your level, you haven't done your own schooling, in my personal opinion, well enough. Because I have 2 books out. Like, I have 2 books out and a few short stories. And I have been studying the business. I know how to do cover research now. I know what the different categories on Amazon. I know how to set up the other stores. I am researching book funnel. I'm setting up book funnel. All of that stuff, like marketing. I know how to do Facebook marketing. I know all of these things. And you should know this before you publish your first book. Specifically, like, I get very worked up, and I'm trying to do things at the same time here. I get very worked up regarding this because I was like, yes, absolutely. It was my choice to haul my ass from Sweden off around the globe to Las Vegas. But even if I didn't do that, let's say I lived in Las Vegas, paying $400 just to get into a venue where the speakers are taking free information that they have already offered for free elsewhere and telling me that again, that is just insulting, in my opinion. That was unprofessional level of bad. And especially the people who are just kind of leaning into pitching their own courses, I was like, that should just be an automatic disqualification by the organizers. Like, why are you not quality checking the speakers and the presentations? Because this should not be allowed. Why am I paying to get them a free pitch to me? Because they're already getting a free pitch by the fact that they are there as a speaker and I'm seeing them, they have my eyeballs on them. And we are all aware, like, if you sell a course, that's perfectly fine. I don't have anything against people selling courses, but your speech should not lead into that. That should not be your entire talk, that it eventually leads up to buy my course. No. Let me find out that you have a course through the fact that you are giving me such a good talk that I go look you up. That's what you should be doing. Or when you're out and talking to people in the hallways, then sure, pitch it. but as not the fucking talk. I think I went off course a little bit. Let's move into the actual talk of the video, which is the networking part. I'm trying to use the conference and laying it out in my frustration regarding it as a foundation for your understanding. And then the networking aspect. And here's where I want to be very, very clear. Sometimes there are different ways of doing networking in different cultures. Now, I'm from Sweden and Europe, and we do networking a little bit differently from the US, as far as I understand it. Specifically here in Sweden, use of alcohol at networking events does happen, but it is light. It's like maybe a glass of champagne, or more likely cava, maybe a glass of wine. You know, you're not there to drink and get drunk in order to socialize and network with people. You are there, you're drinking a little bit just to kind of, you know, get the vibe, get the mood going, whatever. But you know that you're here to make professional connections. So you need to be clear-headed and you need to be alert, because you're also in a professional setting. So that you getting drunk with this new contact that you have, that's not really what happens, specifically not when we're building a connection. That might come later when we showed out like we are friends now. But the experience I had at the conference was very much, don't talk to me unless you make X amount of money. Don't talk to me unless you are at least a full-time author. And don't talk to me unless we are both really drinking. And this makes me very uncomfortable. The first two is just, wow, elitism is live and well. You do know that there are hundreds, if not thousands of authors who are unable to make ends meet. Like, they can't be a full-time author because they have other responsibilities, they have a higher cost, whatever, or they just haven't made it yet. Who has a better grasp of the market today than someone who made it big 5 years ago is. And you are discarding them simply because they haven't reached a artificial number that you say, oh, if you're not a 6-figure author, don't talk to me. If you're not a 5-figure author, I'm not gonna listen to you. If you're a 4-figure author, oh my God, you have nothing to bring to the table. That was very much the general vibe. And that was so off-putting to me that I just like, if this is who you are as a professional, why the fuck would I want to get to know you on a personal level? And I was very surprised and very uncomfortable. Like, the first two is just elitism, and, you know, it's kind of understandable in the sense I understand how that happens. I still disagree with it wholeheartedly, and I think people should be ashamed of themselves when they have that mentality. The third one, where it's just, we need to be drinking properly, like open bar level. It wasn't an open bar, actually. It was a cash bar. But we need to be drinking in order to talk. And I was like, you are being a professional, like, you're supposed to be a professional. Why can't you interact with me and make connections with me unless you are drunk? And I am drunk, for that matter. So that made me very uncomfortable, because I come from a culture where being drunk in a professional setting is very frowned upon. It is not a good look for you. You are definitely going to be looked over for better contacts that can control themselves. And I'm also personally not so inclined in using alcohol as a crutch. I understand that social anxiety exists, and that's fine. Most of my friends have social anxiety. I'm that extrovert that kind of adopted all of the introverts kind of thing. So I do understand that alcohol can help you. But when it became like groups of people, and I am a very social person. I naturally just go out and like talk to people. I would sit like after or in between talks, I went up to people and like, hi, my name is Veronica, what do you write? And I was talking and engaging with their content, seeing like, okay, you have the plaques. I don't really have it right here right now. I'm, as you can see, moving around a little bit. It said what you were writing in fantasy and science fiction or romance, etc., etc. So I went up to people who were in my genres and I was just talking to them, asking them about their stories and their writing and everything. And I think one of them asked a question back. And I'm like, this conference, when in the marketing for this conference, they were talking about how important it is to get to know each other and, networking is so important. And yet this was the mentality that existed there. That was like, I am literally asking you questions. Why are you incapable of asking me questions back? Like one person asked a question back and I made contact with her. She even gave me this, Reese's something. I've never had it before. It was super tasty and she let me try it. And then when we were leaving we separated, like we were leaving within the same hour from the conference, she was like, here's the care package. It was like all these kind of things. There was like chocolate and peanut butter cookies or something. And the Reese's that I really fell in love with. And so, she was a genuine connection. And I made one connection during a whole week in a conference that is like marketing itself on being there to make connections because it's so important in the author world. And I'm just like, I am trying. I also personally, I sat down and talked to my partner about it because I was being very frustrated. One, with the low quality of the speakers. The speakers themselves were great. Don't get me wrong. The authors that were there, they were very interesting and everything. But their talks themselves tended to be on the very low entry level, I should say, entry level of information. And for me, that is fine, have certain of them being that level, but I went to a lot of talks and the general feeling that I came away with was like, I can just Google this. I could have saved myself a 21-hour one-way trip and the jet lag and all the money I'm spending on being in fucking Las Vegas. And then on this conference as well, I could just have sat down and done a whole week of Googling and learned more than I did there, because I also didn't come away with those networking contacts, because authors apparently are shit at networking. I mean, can we raise the level of professionalism, please? Don't be drunk just to be able to talk to people. Do not block other people and go in your little group that you've already established from years before, because a lot of people, it was very obvious that a lot of these authors were people that already knew each other, or they had made contact in the previous year, either at the conference or in the Facebook group. And they had somehow managed to turn that into a friendship. So they were not doing networking. This was their moment to reconnect, in the sense of like, hey, best buddies. This wasn't a professional event. That's the vibe that came across. That I really said that to my partners, like, the quality here is so low, and the way people are interacting with each other is that this is not a networking event. This is a reunion of friends, and these cliques are not particularly interested in letting other new people in, because I am a very social person, as said, and I go up and talk to people, I interact. I don't have a problem with just turning around and talking to people in the line and all of that stuff, but I also know how to keep it professional. I do know how to read a person. Like when I was there to sign in, because they were doing it by letters, the person I tried to talk to, she was like giving off vibes that she wasn't interested. So of course I respect that. And I just like, okay, that's fine. And then I leave her be, because you don't want to overstep either, of course. But don't market this as a networking event when clearly this is not a networking event, when people are only willing to network with people who are 5 or 6 figure authors or a full-time author. I'm like, why are you here? They don't care about you, and the information they are willing to give you is going to be outdated because they made it big a few years ago, most likely. To get to that number, you're probably, if you're earning 6 figures, it's unlikely that you made it that big this year. It is statistically improbable, not impossible, but it is unlikely. I think I'm going off track. But can we please, and I understand that authors tend to work alone. Authors tend to be more on the introverted side. I understand. It's difficult and it is what it is. But if you are in a professional setting that is supposed to be also for networking, you have to go out of your comfort zone. You just gotta be open to making connections. Otherwise, you are literally wasting your time and money, because the talks I have come to accept are never going to be it. It's just not gonna be it. As a group, authors tend to be more introverted, a little bit more socially awkward, and we definitely tend to work alone. So I get that people contact can be a little bit rusty, and that's fine. I have done networking professionally here in Europe, and it is like from here in Sweden, but I also done it like internationally, and I know the different types of interactions that you get through different cultures, and that's fine. However, it worries me that going to the US and the amount of focus on needing alcohol to kind of have that networking thing, or this little clickiness of like, no, we're going to go, or like, you're not, it's kind of like you can't sit with us kind of vibe. And it was very uncomfortable and very weird. And I do know that other people who went there are like, if you were in one of these groups that were having a reunion of friends, you already knew someone there, you're not gonna have the same experience that someone who went there for the first time, who hadn't made any connections prior to the conference. You're not gonna have the same experience as I did. You're just not, and that's fine. I'm happy if you had a great time. That's what it's supposed to be for. But as someone who lives across the world, I live in a country where international or English, I guess, speaking authors are the minority. It's not a lot of networking that is able to happen here because it's not the big market. And I'm not online at the same time where the majority is, like in the US. I'm not online, I'm not awake at that time, so it makes communicating and connecting with people a lot more difficult. So I am already facing an uphill battle with my writing. I am facing an uphill battle with connections. I am like all of this stuff. It is more difficult because I'm not currently in the US. It's not impossible, of course not, but when it comes to networking opportunities and connections and everything, it is very scarce here. I would have to leave the country in order to go to international networking events for authors. The closest one I can think of is probably in the UK, and it's just, you don't have to leave the country. I know your country is massive and all of that stuff, but it's still the same culture, base culture at least. That's a different video. It's a very interesting concept, but let's not get into it. I love making new connections. I love meeting new people and learning from them and hearing their stories and all of that stuff. So me not getting that, not even reciprocated in the way, like, I do understand that people are awkward. But if you are not even willing to make connections with your peers and you're only looking at Joanna Penn to like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you because you have made it and you're a big author. Like, listen to her podcast, read all the blog stuff on her website, follow her online. She shares so much information and value. You don't need to go to this conference to try and essentially like networking hook up with Joanna Penn, because she's busy networking with her peers. You should be focusing on your peers. You need to be honest with yourself and say, who's my peer here? And then you should go open to people who are 1 or 2 steps above you and 1 or 2 steps below you, because that's your range. That's where you are peers. And you need to be able to build around that. You need to be able to fucking accept that in the first place. And I think that there's a mix of things happening. I think that authors are very solitary beings and we as a group lack a lot of professionalism because we work on our own. We as a group of people are very solitary and we might not really feel like we fit in the corporate world, and we reject a lot of that stuff, which includes, unfortunately, this professional networking, and also in a way the professionalism that we are expected to display in corporate jobs. And I don't mean that in a way that how do I say this? And like it that can come across very harsh, and to a certain degree it's meant to be harsh because the level of unprofessionalism that I've come across in the author sphere is quite surprising, and at the same time it's not at all surprising because of the things that I mentioned before. We don't really belong or fit in this normie world, if you will, the corporate world. So a lot of us just kind of internalize, no, I don't belong to this, therefore I reject all of these things. And then you miss the step that by going into authorhood, you are creating a business. You are the corporate now, and you are the face of your business, and you need to be professional, and you need to be able to be professional in all steps of the way, in all levels. That includes when you are hanging out with your friends, because if these friends, are you sure that they are your friend's friend or professional friends, as in they are other authors that are willing to collaborate with you or work with you? Because this becomes very muddled, I think, and people who have rejected the corporate and the professionalism and the networking aspect, they conflate, hey, if we have a good connection, we are now friends. And I'm like, no, your friends are there for you. You talk about everyday issues with them, and they would be there for you if you needed help, like in real life, non-author related stuff. And I would guarantee you that the most people that you have conflated into being your friends, they're your professional friends, and they're willing to help you with your business side as long as they gain something back out of it. That's a professional relationship. That is essentially business to business. They're not going to be there for you as a personal friend would. And that's where I feel like my experience of networking in the US says that you conflate these two things, whereas the more professional experience I have here in Europe, which I want to be very clear about, in the US I have experience of networking with authors, and here in Europe it's not authors. So it is a little bit different. But my point still stands, is that these people were open to discussing things and talking about things and finding what we can get out of this relationship together. Whereas over here, it was like, if you're not my friend, my personal friend, we can't have a connection. We can't be professionally connected. There seems to lack, maybe it is that in the US that step doesn't exist outside of corporate, that you don't have a professional contact only. You have to either be like colleagues, customer, or friend. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just I'm just ranting a little bit here and just going off on tangents and everything because I don't actually have an answer. I just wanted to share my feelings on it a little bit, or my view on it, and while doing admin stuff, although this took my attention away from that a little bit. But my point is that it felt so exclusionary. And like an exclusive event, and like, you can't sit with us, and you're not rich enough, you're not good enough, you're not name recognized enough kind of vibe. And that was really off-putting and weird. So in the end, my partner and I just looked at each other and like, the quality of this talk's not high enough. No one here wants to really network unless you already have a connection or you drink with them. So how about we fuck off and just do our own thing, which we did. I was part of the audio video support club, so I was there at the event during the times I had to be there and to be supportive of the organizer and everything. But other than that, I just fucked off and did our own thing. So in the end, like the week itself was great because we made it great, but the reason why we went there was a bust. And that's really terrible because I sunk a lot of money into that, and I was really, really looking forward to making connections because I want to have more author contacts, because that's what I want to have. Like, I want to build a community where I have author friends, you know, where we can work with each other and we can collaborate. And I don't need you to be my like personal friends, but I would like you to be a professional friend at the very least. And maybe it starts as a professional friends and we become friends. That is welcome and really good. But I'm not going to, because it feels very shallow. Oh, my battery's dying, so I should wrap this up. It feels very shallow when I have to pretend that I think you are my best buddy and we're gonna be best friends forever or whatever, instead of embracing how we are professional, you know? So all in all, I just think that I just want to see more professionalism in the author community and not be so exclusionary of other people or have this arbitrary, you need to be a six-figure author to talk to me. I'm like, you're not a six-figure author either, so who are you to reject me with that standard? You know, it's really weird. Find your peers, find your peers, and you will be able to grow together, because that's essentially what we want to do. We want to draw knowledge and skills and support from each other to build all of us up together, because there's an audience for everyone. We're not competition, we're colleagues, okay? So yeah, just a long rant about everything, I guess. Just a lot of frustration regarding networking and all of that stuff. But thank you very much for being here. Do share your opinions and thoughts down in the comment section. And if you like, I'm not sure I'm gonna make more of this type of content, but if you like it, hit subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye!